Yeah, this is, we talked about the fire detection system. This is a gas detection. So basically this is same thing. It's this is a typical controller, fire controller. It's for gas and a fire. This is your gas, we call it modulars, and it's a gas detector controller. We call it cards, each one for different areas. This is your gas detector, typical gas detector where we're talking about infrared gas detectors. We provide this the same for hydrocarbon and either methane or propane, the same system. A different manufacturer. This is Optima. This is one manufacturer that I'm showing it. This is typical showing all the devices that it goes with its detectors. You have a pad, you got a mirror, how it picks up all the gas and analyzes. So you have to monitor, you have to calibrate these things every few months. You have to calibrate. So that's a maintenance item. So that's what they have. Every, I guess, let's say BP or ConocoPhillips, they do have a maintenance program that they go and monitor these things. If it's where calibration is off, then they go calibrate it. This is that detectors with a rain shield. If you put it outside, in case, so for protecting the detectors. This is the gas detector for inside the duct. Like in a control room, we provide, this is your gas detector inside the duct, and this is outside the unit. So we do provide gas detectors inside the duct. This is basically used for the gas that's coming from outside. In a control room, you got a lot of equipment. You want to shut down your HVAC, find out if any gas coming from outside. You don't want to dump hydrocarbon inside the electrical room. So we do provide, we have these detectors right at the inlet of the duct to inform the personnel, hey, there's something wrong. There's a gas coming inside the control room. So when to use a IR detector, hydrocarbon application areas with background combustible gases when cost of ownership is factored into the cost, when frequent calibration is not desirable, when oxygen may not be present. This is a typical catalytic, which we don't use that anymore. We go with IR detectors. Did I go this one? I don't remember if I think we did that. This is open path detectors that I was, this is a receiver and transmitter. So if any kind of a cloud, any gas, we put it this, any kind of a cloud, it just senses it. And this is the next one, kind of tells you this is transmitted into a receiver. And if there's any kind of a hydrocarbon gas flows up, you can pick it up and notifies if there's any kind of a, let's say 25% LEL, it informs, and either you increase the capacity of your ventilation, or if it goes in at 60%, then you shut it down. And this is a typical detection principle, how it works. Your IR source and detectors can go to fog, rain, and gas. Here's the gas, and kind of a overview of this principle. As you can see, this is your receiver, and again, different effect on the infrared. Depends on the density, depends on the droplet size and scatter and absorb. So, gas detector guideline, it says what is the general application for the detectors. Lists all combustible and toxic gases which may be present at the site. Lists required measuring range. Are there any other substances present, such as gases and dust? His detection is a normal oxygen atmosphere, oxygen depleted, oxygen rich. Estimate the oxygen level, identified normal temperature, highest anticipated temperature, lowest anticipated temperature. Those are all the factors that we consider when we design. Identify normal humidity, highest anticipated humidity, lower anticipated humidity. Identify the normal pressure anticipated, highest anticipated pressure, lowest anticipated pressure. Identify the normal air velocity, highest anticipated velocity, lowest anticipated velocity. List potential contaminant. Define areas electrical classification. Are heat shades or rain shield needed? Is there application in a duct? If so, a duct housing will be required. So basically it kind of tells you how to size your gas detectors that we just went over. This is a fire suppression. This is a gaseous fire suppression that was, I think I can, let's see if I can enlarge this. Let's see what's the next one. Is that the one? Is that what? This one? Yeah. All right. See, I remember. We will quickly cover various types of gaseous extinguishing agent, comparison of their various agents. We use different type of fire suppression. And this is ones that we use for the North Slope. CO2, we don't use it because it's pretty hazardous. We used to use this CO2 for in the control room, electrical room. It's dangerous things. If anybody is people there, you don't want to use CO2. It's pretty dangerous stuff. So we don't use CO2 system anymore. If FM200, we don't use it either because of the inerting cable is more than the threshold. So basically what we have is FE13 and a NOVAC, and of course water mist system, which I'll talk about it. On the ConocoPhillips, we chose to go with the NOVAC system. On the BP, they chose to go with the FE13 system. So, and it has a different requirements. What happened is in the past we used to use halon, if you remember halon, and it was being phased out because of global warming. So now we have new substitute, which is either FE13 or NOVAC. Of course, it's not as good as halon, but again, it's been phased out, so we cannot use it anywhere. This is typical FM200 that give you a number of bottles, how many bottles will require. If it's at, you can see halon, we use 2 bottles versus FM, let's say 300 at CO2, you got a lot more, we're not using that. Energen we're not using because look at the number of bottles. If you have that much real estate, can you imagine? Your module would probably have to be double the size to put all this, accommodate all this bottles. This is FE13 I was talking about. We use the FE13 system and a NOVAC system. NOVAC is used for, the principle is it has a cooling effect. This one is basically, FE13 has a chemical and physical means of putting out fire. This is carbon dioxide, again, we don't use that one. This is a number of bottles that they use the CO2 system. That's, again, is a CO2 system cylinder. FM200, that's extinguished design concentrated, which is 10 seconds. Yeah, most of this FM or FE13 or NOVAC 1230, you have to put out fire within 10 seconds. Once it dumps, within 10 seconds, he has to put out the fire. So that's the requirement. Performance, there are many. It suppresses all class of fire, Class A, Class B, Class C fires. Because the Class B is the one that is very critical, which is that's the hydrocarbon. This is electrical classification. This is basically like paper, wood, Class A. This is a typical bottle that is used. Its FM is it's been charged by with nitrogen. Oops. This is a typical design of it. Here's your bottle. This is a control room. You got the piping going all around with your nozzles. You got 4 nozzles here. Here's your controller, and here's your bottles. And so this, if there's let's say any kind of 25% LEL or 60%, let's say, it says dump. So your fire control panel send a signal to activate your bottles, and that's where you just dumped the agent. As a typical FM200, this is your cylinder, and this is charged by nitrogen. Energen is a gaseous fire extinguishing agent comprised of 52% nitrogen, 40% argon, and 8% carbon dioxide. Again, we don't use Energen because of a number of cylinders that it requires. Plus, the concentration is almost 40–50%, so we don't use it. Component gas of Energen mixture, non-toxic carbon. This is just basically tells you what it is. There's a number of Energen cylinders. FE13 it was manufactured by DuPont. This is the one we use for BP. Is an extinguisher fired by both physical and chemical means. Primarily, it raises the total heat capacity of the environment to the point that the atmosphere will not support combustion. In practice, however, extinguishment occurs at the concentration less than the theoretical heat capacity value. This is explained by assuming that the agent also removes the free radicals that serves to maintain the combustion process. FE13 is a system, is a kitty. Kitty is the one who it's a manufacturer. Actually, they're the distributor of this FE13 system. The FE13 systems from Kitty are suitable for certain fire hazard requiring clean agent. The system are especially suitable for those hazards requiring a low temperature agent storage because of FE13 system unique combination of high vapor pressure and low boiling point. FE13 has a high NOL of 30% VV. This makes the FE13 system specially suitable for inerting protection of occupied spaces, which require both a high agent concentration and safety for personnel occupying the protected space. The physical properties of FE13 also make protection of a high ceiling spaces possible for the minimum of nozzles. The concentration of FE13 for extinguishing is around 6% by volume. Now, for inerting is we normally size for inerting. What inerting means that when we size is for we're trying to avoid from reignition. So in other words, we size for inerting. So inerting for FE13, let's say, is around 12%, 13%. No, I'm sorry, it's 22%. So what we do, we normally size FE13 based on 22% concentration. So and that's what basically how we size our FE13 bottles. System uses modular design concept for flexibility and ease of use. This is just a fill range. The cylinder size of FE13 is very small. It's 112-pound cylinders. They're very small. We normally they don't have a larger. So we do have, like on a BP module, that 600 we showed you, we have 180 bottles we're going to be using. So you can see number of balls, and for maintenance is a nightmare. You have to, per code, you're required to maintain, check the weight and everything every 6 months. So you know how much maintenance required for this FE13 system. This is typical design of FE13. You have, again, as bottles here with your nozzles, your controllers, and detectors said, hey, we need there's something wrong, and it sends a signal to your fire alarm panel. Fire alarm panel energizes your detectors, your bottles, and here's your dump. You have nozzles all around the dump. Fe13, within 10 seconds, should put out fire. So, and this is kind of a comparison guide between the NOVAC and Halon system, the concentration, what the global warming effect and all that stuff. Tells you what classification, the percentage of requires. Again, this is comparison between Halon and NOVAC system. That's NOAL, the one you were looking at, says no observed adverse effect. As long as you're between 10%, let's say you have no problem on the NOVAC system. If you go over 10% concentration, then you have let's say in ConocoPhillips, the size inerting concentration was 12%. That means you have 5 minutes to get out of that building. And on a Halon system, obviously it was 5%. We don't use that anymore. Advantage of gaseous system: clean, quick, cause little or no damage to room content, and do not require annual refilling. Can be used to inert. Disadvantage of gaseous system: carbon dioxide kills people. That's one we don't use anymore. Other gaseous agents are refilling can be difficult since cylinders have to be sent to a shore or for filling. That's what I was saying. The maintenance is a nightmare. You have to, in case if it's a dump, you have to refill those bottles, and it's a nightmare. You have to either send it back to the manufacturer, refill those bottles. So what we have a spare bottles at the site in case if there is accidental dump, or I said there was an accident, then we bring the spare bottles and replace the old ones, the one that's already been dumped. This advantage of a gaseous system: protected space must be airtight for system to extinguish fire. Air handler required to shut down upon discharge. Some agents have potential toxic product of decomposition. Some of those things you don't want to be, if there's a dumping, if you dump any of those agents, you don't want to be you want to get out as fast as possible. You have a few minutes to, it's not going to kill you, but at least you want to get out. So that's what sometimes we put a time delay. Before we dump, we have let's say 30 seconds time delay to inform person, in case there are people inside the building, they want to get out fast. As you know, some agent could become obsolete in the future. Again, that's another. Oops. Now, next water system, what we have is a water mist system. Basically, it's normally used in a small space, like a machinery room. We do have water mist bottles here, the bottles. Same kind of principle, but it's for the smaller scale. Like a turbine area, we do provide, if there's a small enclosure, we provide the same kind of principle. We provide nozzles. Here's the bottle, and it's been charged with the nitrogen, the green one. You can see it's a nitrogen bottles. It's a self-contained unit, and it's ideal for small scale machinery space. This is another side, again, the same thing. This kind of tells you